I'm Denise Carpenter, founder and executive director of Esther by Design, a global women's ministry, and also executive pastor of God's Way Ministries International in Columbus, Ohio, where my husband and family presently reside. For over 5 years now, I have been tremendously blessed to write a weekly blog that has gone worldwide and is blessing so many people. And I've had numerous requests for that blog to either be video recorded or to go live with it. So I wanted to share with you one of my most recent blogs today. And it comes in the form of a question. How much more has to happen? It is hard to believe that we are 6 months into a global pandemic that has affected the entire world. Within that 6-month span of time, we have been quarantined, seen protests and uprisings, job loss, soaring death tolls, hospitals and medical professionals stretched beyond capacity, lack and extreme shortage of basic items and staples for daily living, schools and businesses forced to totally shut down, and now struggling to find the safest and most efficient process of reopening. Need I continue? But in the midst of it all, we have survived and many have thrived. But I wonder how many people in the world realize that we are surviving by no power of our own. I literally shudder when I hear politicians and people in leadership authority that preface every statement with the declaration, I will and I can. It bears a striking resemblance to the 5 I will statements of Lucifer, also known in the Bible as Satan, in the 14th chapter of Isaiah. Am I saying that we are powerless? Absolutely not. By no means is that true. But our strength and power lies in something and someone much greater than any individual. That power is in God, and what we are able to do is in and by Him. I do not believe God unleashed the devastation that we are experiencing. However, because He is all-powerful, He certainly has the ability to speak to it, just as He spoke to the waves in the Sea of Galilee. Because He has chosen not to speak to this coronavirus, I believe there is still something that He is waiting for that has not yet happened. How much more has to happen to get our undivided attention? What I am seeing is that we are shocked and jolted into reality when things are in our faces and it is impossible to dismiss or turn and look the other way. But how long does that last? It has to last long enough until something is done about it, and the responsibility rests on the shoulders of every human being. Atrocities, vicious attacks on innocent human beings, systemic racism, and social injustices are happening back to back in escalated instances across this country. My fear is that the frequency of these tragic events is causing many to be desensitized and silently internalizing that this is our new way of life. Therefore, I believe that Satan himself and those in certain high places of authority and leadership have so studied our patterns that they realize that the outrage and horror of it all will only last for a period. The protests and demonstrations will rise and fall, an ebb and flow effect, if you will. Then it will be back to business as usual. Our patterns and weaknesses of division and inconsistency are so evident that the enemy can bank on the fact that instead of change being inevitable, change is nearly inconceivable. You might be saying, okay, you told us what we're guilty of. Now tell us what we need to do. I really wish it was that easy, but I can tell you that it begins with each of us as individuals. First of all, we have to want change and recognize the desperate need for it. Just because devastation has not hit our neighborhood or our family does not mean that we can shake our heads, look the other way, and just get on with life. Just because it hasn't directly affected us doesn't mean it won't. Then we need to look introspectively at what we have the ability within ourselves to do, and then set a plan in action to do it. Even if it is registering to vote, if you have not done so already, I plead with you, do it now. If you are not comfortable with demonstrating or protesting, I can understand that. There are many other ways for your voice to be heard. There are families and individuals across this nation that need help, and all kinds of help. We can drive down the street and readily see evidence of that. I stopped long ago thinking that only what is done on a grand scale will make an impact. That is so not true. One person, one life at a time, will eventually affect the masses. It is critical that we make every effort to effectuate change now. If we do not, our next generation will suffer even greater consequences. We are coming up on what has been said is the most important election of our lifetime, and I believe that to be a fact. Lots of promises are being made. Some will come to fruition and some will not. But one thing I know is that you can only be responsible and held accountable for what you do or don't do. I love the words of our beloved Congressman and civil rights leader, John Lewis, who admonished us to get into good trouble. There's no doubt that his words are profound, and even though he is no longer with us, his words will live on forever. But let's just say you can't get past the word trouble. Just the sound of it may strike a sour chord with you. Well then, focus on the word that precedes it, good. Start earnestly and sincerely looking around to see the good that you can do. I can't promise you that it won't lead to trouble, because unfortunately our world is so skewed that sometimes good is even misinterpreted and rejected. But at least you can say you did something with the intent to make a positive impact. We cannot afford to wait for the next major event. It's time to act now. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to be back with you real soon. God bless you.